Hello, welcome in for another video. So today I'm going to be talking about some Age of Sigmar stuff, and I'm going to be talking about demigods. Now, demigods in Age of Sigmar do not exist. There's the gods, and then there's kind of powerful mortals kind of thing. There's their followers who may be super powered and have abilities and stuff, but there's no real demigod term, and I think that's a mistake. I think that in Age of Sigmar, the characters that I'm going to be showing you are some of the characters that have really interesting storylines, and I love this idea of the gods sending representatives to do battle. I think that, like, the Chaos Gods, who they never actually come, right? They send the demons. They send their mortal followers to go fight on their behalf, right? They never get involved. It's like Sigmar. Sigmar used to fight, but now Sigmar has realized that is not his place on the battlefield. He is a god, and he is above fighting. And I think that that's a key thing, that Sigmar doesn't fight anymore. So when you have some arguments with people where it's like, well, the other gods like Nagash or whatever, they're fighting, they shouldn't be. There should be no gods fighting, because if they're gods like the Chaos Gods, they should be above fighting and then be sending their followers to fight for them. So I just wanted to show this. So this is a list of demigods here. So I think a good example are the Roman, Egyptian, and Greek. So here, I feel as though many people will know Hercules. I feel that's a really good example. You've probably heard of Hercules before, or know all of the lore for Hercules, son of Zeus, goes around fighting on behalf of like mortals, defending them from various evil things, and Zeus will give him tasks to do too. He'll help him along, but he doesn't get involved per se, actually. And another one where Imhotep, where I know that it's funny with talk about Imhotep, where it's like the Mummy movie, just start chanting Imhotep, but that's not this Imhotep. So he's one of the greatest builders in Egypt and was Thoth's son. And then when you get into the Greek demigods, this is a huge list. Again, you can see just the storylines. There's all these different demigods that were created, and their individual storylines. And again, I like that concept of the gods use other means to affect like life, essentially. In this case, it's the Chaos Gods and the mortal realms. But let's get into some of the models here. So the first model I'm going to bring up as a AOS demigod is Gotrek. Okay, so Gotrek was in Old World, and a lot of the best writing for Age of Sigmar is when they transition characters in a very interesting and new way. Gotrek is one of the few ones where it's literally he stepped out of a portal and has come into Age of Sigmar. What happened is at the end battle in Old World, he was fighting, was shown this portal, and was told through that portal you can save the world, kind of thing, because it was the only way he would walk through that portal. It was a lie. It was a portal to the Chaos realm, so he wouldn't die. So he was in the Chaos realm and eventually came out into Age of Sigmar, and now is fighting in Age of Sigmar. I'm going to make a separate video about Gotrek, but you got me with that. Okay, that's really cool, because then you have the Light of Eltharion, right? Where he was killed in the final battle by Archon the Black with this curse that destroyed his body. And even though Teclis was trying to remake him using his soul, they can't get a physical body because it just explodes because of this curse that was in Old World. So they've put him into this armor. Amazing, right? We're drawing connections from Old World, but it's been recreated in a new way. And I think that these two characters fall under this demigod status, that Teclis could have been one of Teclis's champions that he sends out to fight on his behalf. Gotrek is for the Fire Slayers, right? He's got the Master Rune embedded in his chest now. He's going around slaying everything. Nobody can kill him. He's wrecking. It's fantastic. And another one is Sigvald. So Sigvald, the storyline for him coming out, so it's very funny where at the end of Old World, he was killed by a troll. Like, he just got smushed basically by this troll. So it was an ignoble end for him. Now he hates trolls, which I find very funny. But with him, it's a little bit weird where when Marathi was sucking out souls out of Slanesh, which is not a great sentence, he was like escaped kind of thing, or Slanesh managed to free his soul to send him out to fight again as a champion of Slanesh. New model, right? This intro is kind of like, it's fine. Like, as long as they're taking the souls of these characters and redefining them, I like that. That's cool. And I do love this model. It's fantastic. And even they have kind of god tier characters with Kragnos, the End of Empires, right? Where he is defined as a god, but originally was just a member of this centaur race, and through worship became more powerful. That's what I love about Age of Sigmar, is theoretically anyone can become a god. You just need to get some followers, some worshippers, and eventually you grow in power and can compete with others who have already attained godhood. It's like ambrosia in like with the demigods again, because with Hercules and the Roman gods, if you were to eat ambrosia, you would become a god. So there was avenues for you to gain godhood. And with Kragnos doesn't really care. He's got the followers. He just wants to smash stuff. And that's fine. But Kragnos is at a level where, again, above Sigvald, above Eltharion, above Gotrek in terms of power level, right? Kind of like Dragon Ball Z. You can throw in the power level stuff where Kragnos could probably smash Eltharion, right? But it would still be an interesting fight kind of thing. Eltharion might put up a good duel, but still, Kragnos is more powerful, and I think that Lord Kroak falls into that, where they're kind of this level above demigod. They're very powerful, but they're not quite gods. Kragnos, you can make the argument, again, he's known as the god of earthquakes, but I still think he's killable, right? If they really went for it, they could kill him. And with Lord Kroak, well, he's already dead, but again, Lord Kroak has an effect and is extremely powerful, but feels mortal in a sense, where I could see them, they won't do it, but I could see them killing Lord Kroak in some huge fight, right? Where his mortal form is finally destroyed and he ascends possibly into that final tier, into godhood. Now, this gets me into why I don't like that the gods are playable, okay? Let's go to Nagash. If I have my army, my orc army, and they're fighting the undead forces, and it's a real close battle, it's intense, and at any moment Nagash just shows up and just kills everybody, which happens all the time. What's the point? Like, what's the point? Nagash has his Mortarks. There's so many individuals that he has given power to represent him on the fields of battle, that Nagash should have, again, ascended like Sigmar and been like, this is too petty for me. I am the god of death. I don't need to fight. Right? Where he just is on this throne of death, commanding all of the undead. That's a more interesting story, I think, as they realize that the old world and fighting and all that stuff, they need to become like the Chaos Gods, and that they just have their followers and their battles will be fought not by them, but by others, right? And I think that the new Teclis model is a good example of them almost getting there, right? It's almost there, where, okay, you've got Teclis and Selenar, right? Selenar, the spirit of the moon. And then Teclis, I would just call him the triangle, because he's very much just this triangle that they like, that's glued onto the front of this other model. But with Teclis, I've seen conversions where they're separated. People will put on magnets and put Teclis somewhere else so you can pop Teclis off. It's more, I think, for transport, but some of them I saw display bases done where he's like hovering down here and there's power around him. But I think that this would have been better with no Teclis, right? That Teclis had allied himself with the Spirit of the Moon, and the Spirit of the Moon had taken this form to fight physically on the battlefields for Teclis as a champion, right? As the Spirit of the Moon coming down to help the Lumineth Realm Lords, right? So again, this is, Teclis is, created the Lumineth Realm Lords. They're so powerful. They're creating whole races, and you're telling me that then they're going to go down and fight just regular mobs of Khorne worshippers and stuff. What's the point of that? They'll crush them. When you have the gods fighting, which just happened in the recent books, there's no point, right? When you have Nagash and Teclis fighting each other, what's anyone else going to do? You can't stop the gods fighting, right? And that's why I think that the route that was taken with Sigmar should have been adopted across all of them. You could still bring out cool models. You don't need to have a Teclis model, right? You're never going to get a Sigmar model. They've already said that, right? There's never going to be a Sigmar model because he doesn't fight. So in the same way that there's the Celestant Prime for the Stormcast Eternals, there could have been these champion models for all of the different armies. I think that when you have the gods actually coming down to fight, it just takes away from your battles, right? Why do I want to have some regular Fire Slayers when I can just have, these god models, right? When you can just have Kragnos. And even in game, I know that people have been saying that they're just so powerful that when someone puts this down on the table, you're like, okay, I guess, right? It's debilitating, and I feel like it takes away from the fun of the game when you have models that just crush everybody all the time. Like, I know Kragnos, for instance, apparently is extremely hard to deal with, but there's ways to do it, but I feel it should be a more level playing field because some armies don't have these gods, right? Some models don't have crazy, massive, superpowered units like the Fire Slayers, which I'm doing now. And the last thing I wanted to just talk about and show, again, is funny with Manfred. So I use Manfred as an example where I've listed all of these new models that have come out. All of these are new, except Nagash. But again, new storylines, interesting. You've really got hard AOS stories going that are very interesting and I think well written over everything that I've just talked about, right? But then you've got Manfred. Like the old world they lost, right? It failed. Chaos won. The world was destroyed. So when Nagash is like, I need to remake my undead forces. Why don't I get those idiots that failed before? Yes, so I'll get those same fools who scheme and are morons. We'll bring them back. That's a great plan, right? That's a bad plan. That's a bad plan, you idiot. Like, what do you do? Like, they lost. And it's funny when they have them scheming and they talk about it in the books where Nagash is basically just sitting there and he keeps going, all is Nagash and Nagash is all. Where they'll be having conversations with them and he just keeps repeating that. And it's in the audio novels I find it the funniest where I'm like, someone bonk him on the head. I think he's busted. Like, is Nagash a robot? Like, it's just funny. And Manfred makes all these jokes about Nagash all the time. And I'm like, they could have had them remake their souls into new forms like the rest of the characters that I listed, right? And I understand that it matters the bottom line for selling this model, that models, apparently they have to be available for 20 years. That's the end goal. That's what it's going to be for the foreseeable future. But it's unfortunate because we're kind of stuck with these old characters in this new universe. And I think that that's the disconnect between old world and Age of Sigmar that still has people like upset because they're people who liked old world are saying, well, there's still some of these old characters. There's still some of this old stuff still available. I don't understand why, my Bretonnian army didn't transfer over, and their concerns are valid. To me, it's nonsensical that some of it went, some of it didn't. There's still opportunities to really make AOS I think the best game, because I know from playing all of the different Games Workshop games, Warcry is my favorite game, and next is probably AOS, because with AOS it's geared towards close combat. You're not going to get blown off the table first turn as much as in Warhammer 40,000. But yeah, I'm hoping that in the future they really lean into this, like the demigod concept that I think is really interesting and fun. Let me know in the comments what you think. And please hit that subscription button. It helps me out so much. And I'll see everybody soon.